was Halloween of 2014, and I had to chaperone my little brother who was 6 at the time. Before we were off, I told him to give me a few pieces of candy that he didn't want. Anyway, we went on. My brother went to every house on our block and got candy from pretty much all of them. It was his first time trick-or-treating, so I really wanted him to get as much candy as he wanted. 2 hours passed and Halloween was starting to die down, as it was a school night. We hit a few more houses down and I told him it was time to head back. However, he wanted to knock on one more door and I told him okay, but just one more. I was standing at the sidewalk as he excitedly went up to the door. The door opened and I saw a man that looked to be in his 50s greet my little brother. However, I noticed that the man seemed a bit off and I don't know why. I absolutely thought nothing of it and watched my brother as he got his candy. And then it happened. I saw the man grab my little brother by the arm and pull him inside the house. I quickly ran up to the door and proceeded to break down the door, and when I did, it was pitch black inside. I called out for my brother, but there was no response. Before I could call him again, I heard footsteps coming down the old wooden stairs very slowly. I quickly ran up and punched the guy in the nose, leaving him bleeding. I then heard my brother calling me from a room. I grabbed him and we went back down the stairs and out of there. Him and I ran back to our house and I told my mom. She immediately was bawling her eyes out, hugging my little brother. She called the police and I led them to the house, but when they searched the house, the man was gone. The police told us that the house had been renovated for years. Long story short, they never found the guy, which still kills me to this day. I was trick-or-treating with my friends around the ages of 14. Some may argue that 14 is too old to go trick-or-treating, but we all decided that would be our last year of trick-or-treating. So, we all got our pillowcases and hit every house on the block. It was about 10:30 p.m., and this was the time when people stopped answering their doors. We all were bored and wanted to do something interesting since nobody was giving out any more candy, and plus, our pillowcases were all the way full. I had an Ouija board at my house, and we all agreed to try it. But one of my friends said there was a cemetery a few miles away and that we could bring the board there and maybe contact a spirit. We all thought that was a cool idea, and so we got the Ouija board and brought it to the cemetery. The tombstone said the guy who died only lived till 24. We began asking the board questions like, "Give us a sign you're here." And almost immediately, the planchette moved to the word, "Yes." Now, we were only 14, so we were beyond scared. Then, my friend asked it if it was a good spirit. The planchette then moved to the word, "No." Now, I have no idea if this next part was a coincidence or that it was somehow linked to the Ouija board. After it moved to no, my friend then said, "That's probably why he died at an early age." The planchette spelled out the words, "You have a consequence coming now." I'd say not even a minute later, my friend's phone began to ring. He answered it and his mom and dad were on the other end crying. He then asked what was wrong and his parents said that them and his 7-year-old sister were walking down the street when his sister got hit by a car and died. He then lost it and ran home. I am still friends with him till this day, and I burned the Ouija board. This story is told from the perspective of a female. I was with my boyfriend on Halloween, and every year we would always dress up as scary Halloween decorations. Basically, what we would do is dress up and go by the front door and stay still so that the trick-or-treaters won't notice that we were there, and that they would think we're decorations. Then, we would scare the crap out of them, which was pretty funny. We got good reactions most of the time. Anyway, One Halloween, we did the same routine. There was this one guy who looked to be in about 20, and we decided to scare him. He walked past us to the front door. We gave him a good scare, and he literally freaked out. My boyfriend and I laughed, but the guy was pissed. But we could tell that he was not very happy, so we apologized to him. But he didn't say it's okay or anything like that. No. He reached into his back pocket and pulled out a gun, shooting my boyfriend in the arm. My boyfriend screamed while on the floor, while I started crying and screaming. He then took off down the street, and I called 911. They arrived, and long story short, they never caught the guy. One Halloween, I was trick-or-treating by myself into a neighborhood that my mom and I had just moved into. It wasn't a bad neighborhood, but it definitely wasn't perfect. There was this one guy, we'll call him Mr. C, who lived at the end of the street. Mr. C was nice overall, but there was something slightly off about him. My mom let me go trick-or-treating by myself since I was 18. I started hitting houses left to right, and I eventually got to Mr. C's house, and he did have some cool decorations. Lights everywhere, blow-up cats, cobwebs on bushes, and a lot of stuff you would expect to see on Halloween. I went to go get some candy when I noticed a bad odor. I didn't know what it was, and I just figured it was maybe a dead animal nearby. As I knocked on the door to say trick or treat, Mr. C opened the door and gave me the candy and slammed the door behind him. He didn't even say hi. It was like he was just in a rush for something. I turned around and started to notice that the smell was coming from the tree. Hanging on the tree were these fake dead bodies of Halloween decorations. However, I noticed that one of the bodies looked a bit more realistic than the others. Then it hit me. I put two and two together and I figured out what was making that smell. One of the dead bodies were real. An actual rotting corpse of a woman. I put my hand to my mouth and ran home to tell my mom and to call the cops. The cops arrested Mr. C, and he confessed to killing his wife because apparently she ruined his life. I don't know the rest of that story, and I don't want to know. My mom and I moved out of state the next month.